I had so much fun talking with our next keynote speaker backstage. I didn't get there are two chips I didn't get. I didn't get the mommy chip and I didn't get the sports chip. So it's always exciting to me to talk with somebody who is all about sports. He said waiting to come out and do the keynote speaking for you was kind of like being in the tunnel before the game. Do you know what that means? Well, I get it. I guess, yeah. Michael Williams. You say NFL. You say NHL. You say about anything, the man has probably been involved with it. He is CMO right now of Grand Prix of America, Formula One. He is an energetic brand storyteller, you might say. In his prior days, he was vice president of sales and marketing for the New Jersey Devils and Prudential Center, and also vice president of marketing for the San Francisco 49ers. And if you see him, all right, see, you guys know what you're doing. And he looks like a football player, too. He'll tell you about that. Anyway, he serves on North American board for the CMO Council, CMO Collective, and International Marketing Group. And he is also giving a great deal back of his wisdom, not only to us, but he travels to so many adjunct universities sharing his wisdom. And so we are going to be lucky enough. Come on out of that tunnel, Michael. Michael Williams, everybody. Go for it.
Thank you very much. Well, with an intro like that, all you need is the music, right? The whole sort of thing coming out with the pyro and the flyover and everything else would sort of make sense. So thanks for giving me the chance to be here with you guys today. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit of the experience that I've had throughout my career in sports, throughout my career within agencies, with some pretty high-profile global brands, Ford, Disney, et cetera. And what we're going to talk about is I've sat in your shoes before. I've been on that side. In fact, I was back there throughout the day today. And I just hope that there's some stuff that I take you through, that we talk about, that's of value. And you're not going to walk away with saying everything is important. Not everything applies directly to me. But what we're going to talk about is some things that you can use to help turn your consumers, your customers, into fans. So this is something we're going to talk about a lot. This is a great photo because it really sort of embodies what sports is. Can anybody tell me what this photo is? One more time? So it was during the World War. It was the Christmas Day truce in which you had German and English soldiers stopping to play soccer. So stop and think about that for a second. The day before, this guy you're playing soccer with now was trying to shoot you. The day after, he's going to go back to trying to shoot you again. But at this moment, when you had the chance for people to really connect, it was sports that was what connected them. And that hasn't changed. Even today, where else would you find something like sports where an 80-year-old man and an 8-year-old boy who may not have anything else in common other than being grandfather and grandson, but you put them in an instance in a venue where sports are discussed and there's a connection. But even beyond that, I may not know your name, I may not know where you're from, but if you and I are walking down the same street with the same jersey, supporting the same team, there's already a communal nature to this. There's already a sense where we belong. And people inherently want to belong to something bigger, right? They want to be part of something special. So when I played football, one of the earliest things I was taught was people want to associate themselves with winners. Now, I won't ask you to put your hands up, but stop and think about this phrase itself. Think of your favorite team, right? So I heard people yell when the 49ers were mentioned a little while ago. By the way, when I worked at the 49ers, it was the 4-12 49ers, right? The 2-14 49ers, not the 5-time Super Bowl champion 49ers. That really will test your mettle as far as a marketer, as somebody has to sell and move product, right? But it all comes back to this idea, this sense of emotionally connecting with people. How do you do that? Well, the fact of the matter is, with sports marketing, there's degrees, there's colleges, there's universities, there's classes that talk about this, but the truth of the matter is, there is no such thing as sports marketing. It's marketing. It just so happens the product that you're marketing is sports. And what makes it even more difficult and more challenging is you don't control the final outcome of that product. Stop and think. If it was men's apparel, if it was electronics, if it was automobiles, if it was all these other things and all these other industries, you could work that brand promise, what you convey, what you communicate to that consumer on the front end by working with all the different segments, all the different divisions within your company that is delivered on the back end. But more often than not within sports, that's not the case. So it has to be about more. It can't be about wins and losses. Because even though I played football and I was a kicker, really? You guys think I was a kicker at this size? Come on, you guys, I know it's one of the last sessions of the day. I know everybody's tired. That food comatose has really set in, but I'm no kicker. I can promise you that, right? But it has to be about more, because you don't control that. It's also one of the most difficult products to ultimately brand, market, and sell, because you can ultimately enjoy this product without ever using it, buying it, or seeing it in person. Who's your favorite team? Had you own their jersey? You ever watch the games on television? Yes, yes, yes. When's the last time you actually put money down to go watch the product and experience it in person? Oh gosh, never. Imagine how difficult that is. So when you think about how things are done in creating that transition, that evolution from consumer to fan, you have to ask yourself several questions. What can you control? What can you manage? And how can you ultimately speak to people with a relevant message in a timely manner, in a point in which they're receptive to the message you're giving them? So the first thing you need to do is you need to think differently. And I know that's sort of been a theme. We heard it spoken about earlier today. But you really have to stop and think differently about how you do things. And when you ask why, that's one of the first things that needs to happen. And you need to be brutally honest. You can't just ask the question from a very sort of superficial standpoint and throw it out there for the group to agree upon and everyone nod their head and then go back to their individual groups. But you need to ask why. Why are we doing this? Why do we want to do this? Why is it important that we do this? And then the next question you need to ask is what? What should we expect of this? And this is really where it comes into play, because there's a big difference between what you would do in measuring the results or the responsiveness of a consumer versus measuring the response and the welcomingness of a fan. It's absolutely important to measure the return on that investment, without a doubt. There's not a CEO, CFO, or any good CMO that would tell you that's not important. But also, in that transition, what's extremely important is measuring the return on objective. And that's difficult. That's extremely difficult. It's uncomfortable. It makes it to a point where when you have that conversation with a CFO, and you say, this is the amount of money that's being invested, this is what we're doing to ultimately build this brand, this is what we're doing to connect. How do you put a dollar figure on that? But that's what's asked all the time. When you think about thinking differently, you can't think about your product just being your product. You can't think about your brand just being your brand. What does it represent? What is that essence of how you connect with people? Marketing is not a department. One of the biggest fallacies, one of the biggest issues that you find within companies is people think it's the marketing department. This is the group that's in charge of our brand. This is the group that's responsible for policing this. It's the one to oversee and steward us in the direction that we need to go as a brand. But I'm the CEO. As long as they do it, I'm good. I'm the CFO. As long as they don't go over budget, I'm good. But I'm here to tell you, if you think that way, you're talking and you're marketing to consumers. If you're going to market to fans, you need to think of marketing as a discipline. It's not to say those responsibilities don't fall within the same group. It's not to say that it's not their accountability that's held in place, but everyone has to ultimately be pushing the sled in the same direction. So I brought up football, quick football analogy. Has anybody ever seen a blocking sled? It's one of the greatest equalizers of all, right? So you got 5 guys across, and if every single person hits that sled at the same time, it goes forward. Easy. The effort, the passion, the drive, the same common goal moves forward. But if this guy on this end doesn't have the same willingness to sacrifice, if he's not willing to work just as hard as the other guy on the other end, what happens? That sled starts turning. And the more you let it turn, what happens? It eventually will just go around in circles. It can't just be a department. And just like a team, you can't have everyone who's exactly the same skill set, which makes up a great team, ultimately delivering a great discipline. Starbucks is not about coffee. It's not. If I had 2 cups of coffee, blind taste, and I told you this one tastes better, this one doesn't taste as good. This one costs less, this one costs more. This one's actually easier and more convenient to find, this one's harder to find, and a lot of times the lines and everything else just aren't as good. Rationally, which coffee are you taking? You're taking this one. But I doubt you would in a lot of cases because this coffee's McDonald's. Proven. I don't drink coffee. It stunted my growth, so I stopped a long time ago. But proven, blind taste, McDonald's coffee tastes better than Starbucks. And the reason that you're paying $6 for that coffee at Starbucks is because you're not paying for the coffee. You're paying for the experience. You're paying for what it says about you, how it makes you feel. When you stop and think about it, could you tell someone, I want you to meet me at a Starbucks location? I want you to meet me at a Starbucks restaurant? I want you to meet me at a Starbucks shop? No. Meet me at Starbucks. It takes on its own personality, and people are fans of that. And people are fans of how things make them feel. So when I played football, as I mentioned before, one of the first things the head coach told us is, when people support you, they want to be associated with winners. How many times have you uttered this? Who's your favorite team? Patriots. So how many times have you ever had this conversation, either with friends or yourself? Hey, how'd the Patriots do last night? Hey, we won. We won. That's fantastic. Brady did great. The team was awesome. We won. Hey, how'd the Patriots do last night? They lost. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Where's the brotherhood? Where's the association? Where'd the we go, right? Yeah. It's amazing, but it's not on purpose. It really isn't. The rational side and the emotional side is what drives these decisions. It's what creates these relationships. It's what establishes that place, that special place, from going from a consumer to a fan. Stop and think. Beat headphones. One of the most successful marketing stories out there. They were never sold as headphones. They were never marketed as headphones. They were marketed and offered to the public as a better way to listen to music. We know that you are a fan of music, not a consumer. We know that you're a fan of music. And as a musician, you're not hearing the songs, you're not hearing the music the way we intended you to hear this. Fact, more Beats headphones are returned almost more than any other type of headphones that are out there, but you never hear it, ever. They don't market them as headphones. They don't market them as a set of opportunities to listen to music. You feel the music. You love the music. This isn't a camera. It really isn't. This is an opportunity. This is an extension. This is a way that someone who's an accountant by day and a base jumper by afternoon, that weekend, this is an outlet for him to let people have a peek into his soul as to what really drives him. And by the way, the fans of GoPro is what really has driven that product, by their own content. The majority of this hasn't been done by the company. The majority of this is done by their fans. And when you think about people, they don't necessarily look at themselves as a consumer of GoPro. This is a tool, this is an outlet. I'm a fan because it allows me to allow other people to see who I am. And the other interesting thing is, if you were to ask young people today about Red Bull, more of them would tell you that it's actually a lifestyle than it is a beverage. Something that's, you can drink it, open it and drink it, but it's not looked at as a beverage. It's looked at as a lifestyle. That's fans. That's not just consumers. While the literal sense, the factual sense is yes, they are buying your product, but the way they support your product, the way they support your brand, the way they interact with you, and more importantly, the way that they speak to other people within their community, within their circles, that's what fans do. To go from consumer to fan, you have to think differently. You can't have the old mindset of, this is what we're going to do. We're going to speak to them as opposed to with them. We're going to tell them what our product is, and we're going to sell it to them. That day has passed. Jeff talked about his definition of brand a little while ago. This is my definition, and I'll tell you why. A brand is one part expression and two parts experience. The expression is obvious. The experience is twofold for this reason. The first time you experience the product, the first time you experience the brand is one opportunity, but the second one comes when they've convinced somebody within their circles to experience your brand. And it doesn't just have to be from a selling opportunity. It doesn't have to just be from a experience opportunity. It doesn't necessarily have to be from a sellability. The experience can go on to other things. It can go on to how you deliver a better experience, how you make better decisions, how you come up to a conclusion that doesn't necessarily fall back to the idea of spending more money. For those of you who saw the Winter Olympics, I know we have some Canadians in the house, right? I know Canadians like beer, which is why I put this in here. But does anybody see this? In the Olympic Village, Molson put these refrigerators in the Olympic Village, and for the special sort of experience, if you're a Canadian athlete, after you ultimately had your event, after you did whatever you needed to do, just by simply showing your passport, the refrigerator opened, you were given a Molson beer. It became such a huge hit that other athletes from other countries started asking, can I borrow your passport? Because I'll give you the beer, I will, but because I just want to do it. Because it's just damn cool, right? That's pretty cool. But more importantly that, when you think about things as fans, when you think about things differently than just being a price tag, you can ultimately have those solutions become great extensions for you, where you not only have these people become fans, but they truly become brand ambassadors. So again, another Canadian example. They're pretty creative up there, right? It must be the cold, I think. The Canadian Transit Authority was having issues with their buses. They were having problems where these people were complaining about the lack of buses, the timing of buses, the issue of not having enough. The simple way, the consumer way, the commodity way of trying to figure this out was, what? Add more buses. Let's hire more drivers, add more buses, fix the problem. What they did instead is they installed swing sets at specific locations throughout the cities, which allowed people to enjoy their time while they were waiting for the buses. And you know what happened? People actually enjoyed it so much. There's stories of people that said, you know what, when their bus came, let this one go, I'll wait for the next one in 15 minutes. So these same people that went from complaining and just giving you the SOB factor of just how poor this transit authority was, to say, you know what, I enjoy this. This is something I can experience. When's the last time you think that elderly couple were on a swing? Look at her face. Oh, it's gone. I'm not sure what happened there. There it is. It came back now. How do you deliver it? How do you make better decisions? It's important to think that way, because if you're going to speak to consumers, it's fine. If you recognize it and you do it in that manner, that's okay. But if you really want to work to creating an opportunity and a relationship with fans, you have to think differently. You have to. Because they won't look at you the same way, they won't respond to you the same way, they're not going to interact with you the same way, and they're not going to buy your product or brand it the same way. Right now, there are 2.4 billion brand conversations that take place every single day. Around the world, the rules have changed. The marketers that still think that they're at a point where they're driving the boat, that they're ultimately driving the messaging of who their brand is, it's a farce. Because the truth of the matter is, in today's age, the way people look at social media, if the good man himself was to come down, this is actually more appropriate as far as what the first response would be. No, you don't understand, my son. I want you to follow me. But I'm trying to follow you. I just don't find you on Twitter. Seriously. That would be the first response. As crazy and ironic as that is, that's exactly the case. But John Lennon, right? I think he was a man of his time, ahead of his time, and a lot of people would admit that. But even back then, the power is with the people. You almost have to awaken it. Well, let me tell you, the people are awake. The people are awake, and they have a louder voice and have a larger presence and a bigger influence than ever before. But you have to respect that influence. You have to appreciate it. You have to embrace it. Because there's so many conversations that take place. Once you have a critical mass, once you have that community, the old way of thinking to a consumer is let's just shove as many sales messages down their throat as we can. I was on a panel with a gentleman from Johnson & Johnson, and he and I got into it a little bit, if you would, and we were talking about how social media has changed the face of the world. Governments have been overthrown through the use of social media. But in certain instances, people are just more worried about how much more toothpaste is it going to sell. You're not marketing to consumers, you're engaging with fans. My question to you is, are you a fan? Do you think like a fan? With the teams and the properties and the leagues that I've been so fortunate to work with, there was an exercise I would always do, and it was incredible because the response was always the same. I would take my team members, and I would take them out of their roles, and I would take them out of their jobs, and for at least one game a year, I would make them go to the game as a fan. Meaning, they had to buy their tickets separately. They weren't allowed to park in the special VIP parking. They had to buy stuff at the concession like everyone else. And you know what would happen? Every single time they came back with, my God, we can do things so much better. When you're too close to it and you don't think about it in the shoes of the fan, when you don't think about it about how this affects you and the experience, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And this isn't anybody who is immune to this. The great and powerful Oprah, right? Can do no wrong, gives cars away and everything else. But when you do stuff wrong, fans will call you on it. Give it a second, you guys will see it. Smart crowd, I know it's the end of the day. I love the fact that she loves those Surface. She already has 12 already. It's just a shame that she sent it actually out from her iPad. Ooh. Yeah, what was that speaker before? How'd you do the ooh and the oh? That was a ooh moment right there. That was bad. Really? And you have to be real. You have to be genuine. Because at the end of the day, they will call you on it. Fans are all about being purposeful, having a value, and being associated with something bigger and better than themselves. And don't say you're committed if you're not committed. Right? Look at this. This is a classic example. This is a classic example of marketing being a department. So marketing says, we got a great app, we're moving forward, this is wonderful, it's going to be great. Everyone there at the course is going to have a great time. And then you have the operation folks come after the fact, and they say, yeah, you can't use that here. No, you can't do that. How many times does that happen within your company? How many times do those conversations take place where you have one department, a marketing department, do one thing, but you have another department do something completely different? It's scary, but that happens all the time. Are you guys pushing the sled in the same direction, or are you guys just going in a circle? As CEOs in the room, hands up. How many of you are CEOs in the room? Presidents. How many of you actually believe you know what the essence of your brand is, and the decisions it make and the decisions that go into it allow you to make better decisions for the company? It can't just be the people in the marketing group. It can't be. Not if you're going to work to create fans. Everyone has to associate themselves in a manner where they realize and they value fans. When Starbucks makes decisions, when Nike makes decisions, it's not about coffee. When Starbucks ultimately came down and tried to figure out what their brand essence is, who they are, they came up to 3 words. And their 3 words were everyday rewarding moments. Coffee was nowhere to be found. Everyday rewarding moments, because every single day, we want you to know Starbucks is a place that you should come. You should enjoy. You should experience. And it's not just because we want to sell you coffee. This is a place of meeting. This is a place of learning. This is a place for gathering. This is what happens at Starbucks. And by the way, if you drink coffee, we have some good coffee. If you like little things to eat on the side, that's fantastic. But this is really what it's about. For those of you who've seen the latest viral campaign for Starbucks, Meet Me at Starbucks, everything they talk about is all the things that take place there. It has nothing to do with drinking coffee. It's a byproduct. Nike, when Nike goes through this exercise, 3 words: authentic athletic performance. At the end of the day, that's what you heard one of the speakers talk about earlier, the moment you put on that sweatshirt, the moment you put on those shoes, you feel like you can jump 3 inches higher. We know you can't, but that's what makes it such a beautiful thing. Authentic athletic performance. It's authentic. It's genuine. This is the same stuff the pros wear, whether you're a weekend warrior or whether you're somebody that's going to be just doing this and from the Junior Olympics to the Paralympics to a retired fireman football game. We're going to help you be a better athlete. It's not about the shoes. Even the NFL, when they go through this and they talk about what their brand represents, what their brand really truly represents, it's not about football. It's about intense, unifying, and meaningful opportunities. We bring people together. We offer people a chance to experience something great. And we're the conduit that sort of allows that to happen. It's not about football. It's not about coffee. It's not about shoes. And it's certainly not just about selling. All of those are the byproducts of what happens when you create, maintain, and ultimately hold on to that relationship of creating an opportunity to go from consumer to fan. Ask yourselves, the things that you do, the things that you enjoy, are you a consumer of that stuff? Or are you a fan? If you're a fly fisherman, if you enjoy going fly fishing, and you think about your favorite place and your favorite rod and the way you do things, when you're talking to your friends and people within your social communities, are you talking about, well, you know what? I'm a great consumer of this rod. I really love this rod. It's great. As a consumer, I can't get enough of it. No. When you talk about music, I actually spoke to a music company not too long ago, and their marketing, it was actually defined as head of consumer marketing. Consumer marketing. When you listen to music, when you're in your car, no matter what car it is, no matter what music it is, when that one special song comes on that just absolutely invokes all these memories, all these things that happen to you, are you a consumer at that point? Or are you a fan? What moves you? What makes a difference? Think about it. And think of yourself. What makes the biggest difference in decisions you make? What makes the biggest difference in things that you do? And now take yourself out of your personal life and put it into your business life. What can we do better? No matter what the group is, because marketing is not a department, marketing is a discipline. What can we do to make sure that we change that consumer to a fan? The last thing I'd leave you, just like this guy jumping off base jumping, right? At this point, there's no turning back. If everyone is together, if everyone is unified, if everyone is pushing that sled in the same direction, then you're at a point where you're able to define that strategy. Because collaboration, just like a team, just like that huddle, everyone is on the same page. Secondly, you need to make sure that you ask why. Ask why and ask why again. And it's not just the CFO's responsibility to ask why. It's not just the CMO's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. Then after you ask why, ask what? Einstein, a lot smarter than I, not everything that can be measured matters. Not everything that matters should be measured. What's your return on investment? Very important to ask. Very important to decide. Very important to make sure you take accountability for. What's your accountability when you're talking about your objectives? Because a lot of those objectives is really what's going to make a difference with a fan versus a consumer. Make sure you have a creative license, but do it with a purpose. Fans will see right through it. Right? It was fantastic that Oprah thought that the Surface was the greatest thing in the world until she came out as being bogus. Right? The backlash on social media was enormous. And her reputation as being honest definitely took a hit. Now, is she going to last? Absolutely. Will it do anything as far as long-term damage? No. But just in the back of that mind, you know that there's a little bit of playful sort of teasing in that. Was that more commercial, or was that her being more genuine to her fans? Be genuine. Be committed. And be disciplined. Just because it doesn't work the first time, it doesn't mean it won't work a long time. How often, when you talk about sports, fan bases of teams, the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago Cubs, San Francisco Giants, how long do you think? Yeah, they always keep piping up like that. Another couple of World Series, see how that works? But think about it. That wasn't built in a week. That wasn't built in a year. And the people that supported that team were over decades. It takes time. And within that, you need to be disciplined. You need to be committed. This is what we're going to do to build a better team. And then lastly, you need to make sure you have a realistic expectation of how you're going to get there. Because the things that you've done here with consumers, in more often case than not, isn't going to be what you do over here with fans. And anytime that happens, anytime you use a new tool, anytime you do a new exercise, anytime you do something different than your normal sort of daily routine calls for, you're going to get some bruises. You're going to have some broken bones. You're going to have some skinned knees. But if you realize at the end of the day that it's going to serve you a better purpose in the long run, that it's going to offer you a better chance to be genuine and connect with people and ultimately go from a consumer to a fan, what's going to happen is those fans are ultimately going to carry the message for you. From consumer to fan. That's what the questions you should be asking yourself. How do we do that? What do we need to do? And where's the biggest inroads for us to do it? Thank you guys very much.